Hello, everybody, and welcome to a Wednesday afternoon here on Kobold Press. I am your littlest red dot, and I am joined by a slew of talented kobolds today. I'm so excited to tell you all about it. But before we jump in, let's talk about some announcements. We have a few things going on right now, including upcoming PAX Unplugged, everybody. Kobolds will be at PAX. We'll be running around stacked 3 tall in a trench coat, so come find us. We'll be so excited to see you. The booth will be there. I'll be hanging out. Alexander's going to be around. Megan, are you going?
I believe so. I believe I'll be there.
Okay. I thought so. Megan, you're going to be there. I think Kim's going to be there. So you'll see a lot of kobold faces. Swing by. We're going to have some cool stuff at the booth. I'll be taking pictures. I'll be chatting with folks. We even have a little interview like type stand, so I might even ask you some questions. Tell us all about why you love kobolds. So swing by, come check us out. I believe our booth number is now live, so you can go ahead and mark that on your map of choice, and we'll be there to greet you in full. So make sure you check it out. But today is all about a very exciting product that we talked about way back when, and now we get to talk about again because it's getting ready to hit the shelves, which is Tome of Beasts 3. And all the incredible writers I have here on the screen with me today are all contributors in some way, shape, or form to the new Tome of Beasts 3. So, without further ado, let's go around and meet the crew. First up, we're just going to go across the screen as we see it. So, Megan, kind of down, if that makes sense. So, Megan, you're up first. Tell everybody who you are and maybe how you contributed to Tome of Beasts.
Sure. My name is Megan Markle. I am one of the editors for Kobold Press. And for Tome of Beasts 3, I did a lot of editing and development on it. Most of it, yes.
Yes, you did. I was about to say a lot. Yeah, quite a lot of it. Yeah. Nice. Bashir. Oh, wait. I might have muted you. Try again. I'm sorry.
Hi, I'm Bashir Gels. I am a freelance writer, game designer, world builder. I do a lot of work with Kobold Press. I designed, I think, 16-ish monsters for Tome of Beasts 3, including some I am very fond of.
I think it's closer to 33, but sure, we'll go with 16.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
33.
Wow.
I did not archive all of them, clearly.
That's like double the number.
This
nice.
is why I keep the spreadsheets.
This is why Megan's our spreadsheet person. Yes, we'll get into those, and I can't wait to hear about some of your fun and most favorite, because 33 is a lot. I wish we had more time and we just page by page everybody, but I just can't. Lockie, I'm so glad to meet you for the first time and to have you on the channel. Welcome in.
Very much. Yes, it's great to be here. We've been trying to do this for a hot minute, and I'm really excited to talk about this particular book. I'm Chris Lockie. I am a Kobold Press veteran at this point, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I did about 10-ish new creatures for this project, although I'm sure Megan can attest to the reappearance of several from the pages of other works over the past couple of years. But I, like Bashir, I kind of went hard on this one, and I had a lot of fun with it and did some things that are a little atypical for me and probably for a lot of us. So it should be fun.
Well, I look forward to hearing about it. It seems that today I've got the crew that went hard and fast at a few 1,000+ words for this, because I know Jeff also contributed quite a lot. Jeff, take a moment, introduce yourself, and tell everybody who you are.
I'm Jeff Lee. I am a freelancer for RPGs and game design and writing, and I've been doing quite a bit of stuff for Kobold Press over the years. For this particular book, what was it, 23, Megan?
Yes, 23.
Okay, 23 monsters, as well as some of the layers for the accompanying book.
Oh, nice.
And,
yeah, we'll talk about that too.
Yeah, and I got to flex my muscles on this one and managed to write some particularly nasty creatures that I'm proud of.
Ooh, nasty creatures. I look forward to hearing about that. Well, I have to say I'm a pretty lucky kobold in that I managed to get one of the very first print copies of it. Now, for all of those at home who missed the Kickstarter and do want to get your hands on the new Tome of Beasts book, right now it is in pre-order. So you can head on over to our website. If you're like me and everything is done online in your life now, and VTTs are your way of managing to get to play with all of your friends, right now this month, we're actually running a special with Roll20 where you can pre-order the new Tome of Beast, and while you're at it, you get 20% off the, package deal of Tome 2, I believe. So I'm going to drop that right here. You can go claim that reserve this month. drop that in chat as well. Boom, there you go. Click that link. It'll take you over to Reserve. You can learn all about it. 20% off when you pre-order the new Tome of Beasts 3, which is coming. It'll be fully ready to go, and it's just around the corner. And I'm so excited to add all these monsters to my compendium. I'm so excited. So yeah, there you go. Some things that are running right now. But like I said, I was lucky enough to get my hands on a copy. Ooh, looky.
Let's see.
Ooh, shiny, nice, kind of clean look. Beautifully printed pages, as usual. Nothing less for Kobold Press. Yeah. And this isn't the only book in this set. I know Jeff mentioned a Layers book. I got one of those too. Check it out. Nice and shiny as well.
Oh, that's a really cool monster on the cover of that Layers book, by the way.
Yeah, this one. Cough. Can't imagine who designed that. But some really great maps too. Kobold Press is known for really incredible maps. Like, I love this multi-tier layer of this ship. As somebody that tends to run a lot of pirate stuff, very cool. I was gonna pull another map for you, but look at this. Look at this art. This is sick. I don't even know what's going on here, and I want to play it. So lots of really cool stuff in the new Layers book as well. But if you think that's all, you are sadly mistaken, because we also have a really awesome pawns set for every one of the monsters in this book, which is quite a lot. Now, I've already taken the plastic off of this, but I wanted to kind of show you what these look like. So they come in like the little pages, and they pop out of the page, and then they set in the little pawn stands. Pawn stands not included. So you get the whole slew of them, and they're really, really nice and clean and well printed. I was going to try to find a big one. Let's see. There's got to be a big one in here. Oh, yeah, here we go. I'll even pop one out. I don't got any reason not to. Oh, look at this. I want this drudge picture. That's disgusting. I want it. So they pop out. They're about this size. Really easy. Great for travel. In fact, I'm lucky enough to be going at the D3 at Sea cruise on Friday, and we're going to be running some stuff in the Southlands. A little sand pirate action on a nice cruise ship to the Bahamas. So I'm going to be bringing my pawns with me and putting them on maps. So I'm very excited. Wanted you to get a peek, but you can get this whole set. Every one of these 3 are available now, and you can go ahead and get all of your VTT needs over at Roll20. Okay. Now that I've shown you all of the cool product, now that I've shown you that, let's talk about these monsters y'all are so hip and cool about. So I know, Megan, you did a lot of the editing, and I definitely want to talk about the editing process, but I'm going to let these gents introduce their maybe favorite monster or 2 first, and then I want to hear all about what it's like to wrangle the cats to make a project like this come together, because I know out there we have some aspiring editors, and it is not an easy job at all. So we're going to loop back around. Yeah. Oh, nope. Is Megan on mute? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just laughing along. You're good. You're good.
Silent laughing. So yeah, I want to learn about the editing, but first let's take a peek. We did some interviews while the Kickstarter was going with a few of our writers and designers, but none of them designed as many as all of you did. So I have to give you the hard task of picking just a couple to talk about. And I think we're going to go backwards this time. So let's start with Jeff, and we'll work our way to Bashir.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think I'd like to start with the biggest monster that I made CR wise, which would be the Dread Examiner.
Say that for us again, Jeff, please.
Sorry, the Dread Examiner.
Ooh, I like the
Dread Examiner. Yes. What does the Dread Examiner have to offer us?
Well, the Dread Examiner is not from here. It is a creature from somewhere beyond. Possibly not even of this universe. Yeah, and the one of the cool things I like was just the image I got. Have you ever seen one of those pieces of art where it's just a bunch of objects that are hanging in a particular way?
Oh,
and yeah. It looks like nothing at first, but as you change your viewpoint, it suddenly becomes something.
Oh, yeah, it's like perspective based. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so the Dread Examiner doesn't have a body, so it forms one when it comes to our world. And it's just pieces of things that are floating together. And unlike these art pieces where you have to move, as it moves, you may see this giant humanoid form, but then that suddenly becomes more bestial. And then it turns further and becomes some sort of mad just orbit of things. So
that's
it's really
cool.
hard to get a good lock on exactly what it looks like.
Man, and the uses for that are kind of endless.
Yes, and just so we're clear, this clocks in at a challenge of 21. So yeah, this is a rough customer. It has legendary actions, and and regional effects and lair actions as well.
Yeah, I was about to say it's got some lair actions.
Yes. So if you're fighting the Dread Examiner, you're in for the long haul. And
Yeah.
and what it does is it wanders around and sets up little laboratories where it experiments on the life forms in this world. And it has no pity, it has no mercy, it has no concept of these other creatures as being worth worrying about their pain or their suffering. So it does horrible things to creatures, and a lot of times it will combine things just to see what happens. So if you have a particular crossbreed monster or special variant of something that you want to let loose, the Dread Examiner could be the one that created it.
This is very, very cool monster, and kind of terrifying. Something that like lacks the empathy to understand, like why it's not okay to just like, piecemeal
Exactly,
things
yeah.
together.
I was drawing heavily on that Lovecraftian vibe of these things from beyond that are so beyond our comprehension that we're just like ants or insects or worse to them.
Yeah, I see a lot of hallucinations, phenomenon type stuff. This is really cool. There's one I just want to point out. It has a lair action called psychedelic gas, and I'm here for it. I just want everybody to know I'm here for that.
It's officially my new favorite monster. Yeah, we're playing
gas.
right after this, right, Jeff?
Yeah,
sure.
The name of my college band. Yeah, no, this is very, very cool, and the art again. Like I guess one rendition. I love how the shadow's like that much scarier than the actual creature itself. Like it's already scary, but then the shadow is like elongated and disgusting. I love it. It's wonderful. This is very, very cool. Is there another creature? And I will say it looks like somebody in chat has some questions about this creature, which I, imagine we'll talk about here in just a second. But do you have another one you'd like to highlight? Because I know you did a whole bunch for the book, and you did a lair, so don't forget to talk about that as well.
Yes. I may have done a couple of lairs. I don't remember. There's so much stuff. Let's see.
Yeah, I was going to say who? Let's see what we got.
Let's go with the Life Broker.
Ooh, I like that name.
I delved into my nasty Fae side on this one.
Ooh.
Not quite as nasty as the Dread Examiner. The Life Broker has a challenge of 13, but still,
nice little piece of art there.
And
you can't really see it in the art from this angle, but the cloak has vials.
Yeah, it's got little tiny, very cool, like hidden underneath. I like it.
Yes, because the Life Broker is a powerful Fae, but doesn't rule any court. Bows to no other Fae lord or lady. He's his own thing, and what he does is exactly what the name says. He buys and sells life. So he will purchase some or all of your remaining years in exchange for whatever he deems to be a good bargain. He will also sell life to extend, and that's where most of his market comes from is people who are desperate to live longer. And for the right price, he can provide you with a few more years or a decade, or maybe a century, depending on what you're able to pay.
I love beasts that aren't necessarily like immediate combat creatures or monsters. Like I really love monsters that sometimes become the villain, right? They're big enough to become the villain. And this one seems like, steal the wrong life from somebody or a little too much or have to go get something back. It's very Devil at the Crossroads kind of vibe because it's not, no matter what you do, it's not going to be a good trade. Anytime you're trading like life energy, it's just like,
but he does play by rules.
Oh, okay. He's got his own rules. Okay.
He has his own rules. He never takes what is not offered to him.
I dig it. A lot of RP role-playing opportunities with this one. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
However, if you approach him violently, he will assume that you're willing to give up your lives to him, so he has no compunctions about using his powers against people who come at him offensively.
same,
Offensively.
same,
I mean, that makes
right?
sense. Yeah, right? Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I have to say, a really nice, like, I hate to call them a beast, right? But another beast. We just dropped the new Ebb and Tide stuff. This would be a really cool, like, addition to an Ebb and Tide setting to have a good. Maybe a GM NPCs too. Somebody that they're like totally don't trust. I love those kinds of NPCs. Where they're like, I don't trust you, but I need you, so I can't kill you. Yeah, really great roleplay opportunities. Very, very nice. Now, what about this lair that you, did you write a couple?
I wrote a couple. Let me see. I brought up my documents.
I was about to say,
here.
I was bringing it up too, so I could see the table of contents here.
Let's see. I have
Quite a lot of adventures.
Forgive me, I'm working with so many windows here.
Hey, that's all right. No worries.
Well, we've got a second level adventure called Salvage at Lonely Cove. That was a fun one.
Ooh.
The background is that there is this out of the way cove out on an isolated area of towering sandstone cliffs, so it's only approachable by sea. And the rumor gets started that a notorious pirate and smuggler who plies the seas in his ship, the Dead Reckoning, has wrecked there during a terrible storm. And so the race is on to get there and find out what sort of wonderful things he has, in the ship.
Right.
And it turns out that what he was smuggling at the time were exotic creatures. Which, thanks to the wreck of the ship, have now been freed into this little cove area, and so the party gets to deal with several of the interesting little lower challenge rating creatures from the Tome of
there's
Beasts.
one here. I gotta show this off. It kind of disturbs me, but it kind of doesn't. It's also kind of cool. Look at this fish thing with a face. It's like a beta fish. Very cool. All right, nice. And I'm always down for a good pirate adventure. Like, there are clearly, just in my book, never enough of them.
Yeah,
Man,
and
dope map. Great map.
Oh, that is lovely. Who's the cartographer on these?
Who did?
I believe Pintar did all of those.
I think
yes.
I think that's right. That's what the
I would
book
double check.
says. Let me just check this front page. Yep. Yep, Pintar.
John-
yep.
yeah, John
did all
Pintar.
the cartography. Yep.
For those that are familiar with the Scarlet Citadel map folio, it's the same.
Yes,
Any award winner.
Yeah, really nice maps.
Yeah.
I love the
really nice
layer
maps.
stuff. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, I learned a little about you, Jeff. I can tell that you like pirates, and you're clearly got this Lovecraftian vibe about you. The chaos reigns supreme, no doubt, in your campaigns. Very nice. Well, let's move over. Let's see. Lockie, Chris, what did you bring to the table?
Well, this was a very interesting assignment for me. I came in on this one pretty late, and the team was sort of filling in some blanks, and so I was given sort of a rhombus of challenge ratings and creature types and environments, and
you get to do the filler.
Solve a mystery of epic proportions to, deliver the goods, but also make sure I was typically as proud of it as all my work for Kobold Press. So
Right.
much different from what we did with the Creature Codex, where I I got first dibs. So I kind of did a lot of Lovecraftian stuff, in the same vein as Jeff, specifically some adaptations. And so I found a couple of spots in here to do some real deep cut Lovecraftian monster stuff. One of them is the Howler of the Hill. That's kind of fun. We won't go too deep into that. I just kind of wanted to mention it. But as far as let's jump to the creature on the cover of the Layers book. That is called the Cave Sovereign. Yes, I spent a lot of time sort of bashing my brain against the wall to decide how this could be different than just some sort of underground bug. But at the same time, I I read a lot of Stephen King. It's probably hiding over here behind me on one of these walls, but essentially, it kind of gave me it reminded me of it a bit, like the creature, you know.
Oh yeah.
And much in similar, you know, Cthulhuid vein of this kind of alien presence in an otherwise mundane terrestrial situation. And the eldritch origins of that creature are kind of what really shine through. It is a gargantuan aberration of chaotic evil proportions and a lot of hit points. And it does have some legendary actions itself. And I kind of I had a little fun creating a sort of template spawn creature as well,
Oh.
if players aren't clever enough or self-sustaining enough to stay away from it in the proper way. So it's pretty hideous, and I'm pretty proud of what became of it.
I mean, it's on the front cover.
Like, better rise to the occasion, dude. If you're gonna,
Yeah, right?
yeah, I'll do it.
Awesome.
So that was a really fun one. I also one of the creatures we got feedback on kind of earlier that Megan was kind enough to pass along in our top secret Kobold Discord. It was this thing. I called it the Siege Golem originally. Did we rename that? Did we rename that?
It did, yeah, in the end, because the art ended up causing the rename, which
That's
doesn't
right.
always happen. It's not
But
a
what is
common.
the,
Interesting.
what is the new
it was
name
like
again?
late.
Yeah, the new name is the Goblin Siege Engine.
Oh.
And that's still
okay.
quite appropriate. That's still very
Yeah,
appropriate.
so like statistically and everything, it still operates the same as the Siege Golem that you had for the most part. But the art had like it was like a mobile siege engine, and goblins are all over it. So
God,
it ended
stop.
up prompting a name change.
Yo, I
Yeah.
love goblins so much. Goblins are like
um,
one of my favorite things in the whole world. This is cute.
This is a huge construct, unaligned, of course, and it's kind of a sentient war machine / ambulant bunker that is able to operate of its own accord if the gobos on top are all dispatched or chaotically dispersed. And I really kind of leaned in on my my old love of things like Masters of the Universe and 80s kids cartoons. It's really it's supposed to be pretty wild, and I think we got there.
Oh, absolutely. It feels like first off, it's very goblin. Like anything patchwork together is very goblin, but it does have that 80s vibe of like a Goonies machine. Like this feels like something that like kids would toss together and then like fight the bad guy. I love this. This is very, very cool. And again, not necessarily against the goblins. Like I love that the machine is actually the monster, not the goblins themselves, you know?
Right. So it does work as a defensive mount, which could prove to be pretty great in a real fun tabletop setup. But I'm sure everyone watching loves Labyrinth, starring David Bowie. And once they get to the Goblin Town in the center, there's that classic scene of the giant golem with the little guy inside puppeting it, and that was a kernel of inspiration. And I was like, well, that's fun, but we don't want to rip that off. We want to do something a little different, and that's really just an iron golem at the end of the day. But it's fun. I cannot wait to see it come to life. I want to see it on the tables.
And a great, with goblins kind of everywhere. We've now had goblins dropped in Eventides. We know there are goblins coming in the new Wasted, book that's coming out. This is a great monster for like either of those settings, or like hit the Rothinian plane. Everything's on legs in the Rothinian plane. Like goblins on the move. But I love in here. There's a little line, and I have to toss it out because Darrow are my favorite. It's like Darrow and Arena constantly forgot in the Midgard races, but I love that these are pioneered by the Darrow, which tells you everything you need to know about how chaotic a machine like this is. I love that little nugget of like a Midgard lore there. That's very, very good.
Yeah, there's another Darrow in the mix as well. Maybe but I don't want to hog the air. Maybe you'll have to find out for yourselves. Yeah, maybe you'll have to find out for yourselves once you pick up at home your own copy of Tome of Beasts 3 exactly what the Darrow Abyss Walker Abysswalker Darrow does, and
love Darrow.
I will leave it at that.
I love them so much. I guess I'm gonna have to dig. It was really hard. I got this last week, and I promised myself I wouldn't dig through it until I did this with all of you today. So I've been very good, and Dot has not like scoured. I did look at the 2 monsters I put in it because I wanted to be a proud mama. But other than that, I swear I didn't peep. And so today is my first look. So now I'm gonna have to go dig for all the Darrow stuff because I want to know. Very cool. Thanks, Chris. All right. Bashir, tell us a little bit. I know you got a lot in there. 33 is what Megan said. So tell us about maybe 1 or 2 that you really, really like that you tossed in this book.
Yeah, so for about half the stuff I designed for Tome of Beasts 3, my thought process for coming up with an ideas was basically, wouldn't it be really fucked up if this thing existed? So my first thing on that vein is the Leashed Legion, which is like this little aberration mount kind of. It's designed as like a symbiote meant as like part of an ecosystem of cultists or weird extraplanar aberrations. So in encounters, it is designed to be supplementing something else. The basic idea is that you have the Legion, which can like drain life at range with its natural abilities, but it has a rider on top of it. And whoever its rider is, it kind of plugs a little thing into the back of their neck. And whenever it drains life for someone, it heals the rider. Yeah, just this messed up little scarab dude. And if you sit in that, if you are brave enough to sit in that broken exoskeleton on its back, it will heal you as it kills people.
I love that the offer there is you have to be brave enough to sit on its disgusting back to get that benefit.
And the basic idea is that, like, in its natural environment, it basically kidnaps smaller aberrations and puts them on itself so that they'll protect it with their spells and the like, or other abilities, while it goes and hunts things. And so it's a symbiotic relationship that the other guy may or may not have agreed to.
Right, but then it's like, are you going to turn him down? He's healing you. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of that's a very symbiotic, toxic relationship.
Yeah, and then like cultists and stuff will summon them so that like the cult leaders will have something to ride around in that'll protect them while they're at you. All sorts of stuff like that. And then the second one, and probably my favorite thing I have designed for this. My favorite monster I've designed for any official contract for anyone I've worked for is the Arcane Leviathan, which is one part like ancient forgotten relic automaton and one part strategic nuclear submarine.
Look at this, y'all!
Wow.
Yes.
Oh wow.
So it's this enormous lobster thing. It has kind of vibes from the Leviathan from Atlantis. That goes around the old territory of long forgotten nations doing its rounds, waiting for either recall orders or the launch the nukes orders, and like it'll attack things that it views as trespassing on it. When we get into like editing and stuff, there's some more stuff to talk about there, but like it has some really cool mechanics where one of its things is that it kind of puts like a targeting laser on you in like the form of like an electrical ward, and at the end of whoever got hit with that next turn, then the ability hits you and the damage is spread between everyone close to you, which results in interesting mechanical stuff. And it of course has the option to extrude its giant magical pylons and start firing enormous magical blasts.
Pylon discharge. I see that.
Yes. That will wreck whatever city you are in, or boat you are on, etc.
I love that it is an impregnable fortress, if you would, as well, an impregnable Leviathan, so that it can take no damage if it succeeds on a saving throw, basically, it takes half damage, which makes it almost impenetrable, right? Like, that's the whole point. This is very cool. This kind of makes me want to run, like, an Atlantis style.
Yeah, that's
like,
what I was thinking. It's a whole
campaign
campaign maker. Yeah. You could build a whole year around that one monster.
Yeah, around it. You could give it to, if you were real brave, you could give it to your players as like a means of transportation, which could be like a whole other
if they earn it.
If they earn it. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Well, that's really, really cool. Now, I have to say, I peeped it a couple times to all of you. I did manage to get 2 monsters in this book. I didn't get 33, but I did get 2
Ooh.
monsters.
Ooh.
And it was funny. So this is how this happened. I was going to submit with all of the backers, and then Megan was like, well, you're a kobold. Why don't you just pitch me a few ideas? And I did. And to my surprise, you picked my 2 favorites, which is really exciting. Because Dot has an obsession with pirate campaign, so I'm always looking for monsters that are like coastal or things that can be used like in interesting ways around kind of pirate lore and that vibe. And then I have a small obsession with marsupials. I think creatures with pouches are the most interesting thing ever, because I don't have a pouch. The majority of the creatures on this planet don't. So like the idea that you get a pouch on your physical form, like it's like part of your body, I think is the coolest thing ever. So I actually wrote something for Kobold Press, one of our shows, set in the Middle Sea, and I wanted something that snuck up on my players. And so I created the Blood Barnacle, which is your undead version of barnacles that grow in and around anything sea-like. The difference is when mass combat happens or battles at sea and bodies are left, the decay and the rot changes the plankton, right, that's in it that actually develops. And so I love this idea of a small organic thing. And so you got to be careful of those blood barnacles, because if you camp or you pull up on side the wrong ship, they could come on board and slowly begin to change the players or the character into undead. And I love this idea of like, well, old pirates get barnacles all the time. How do they like not scrub the barnacles off their elbows? Well, we know pirates didn't bathe, but I love this idea that like, what if it crawls on you while somebody's sleeping and they don't know? And they wake up the next day and it's a slow roll process into growing barnacles, these blood barnacles on your back. And actually, I think we got some pretty sweet art, Megan. It's on a barrel though. Let's see. And then the other one was my marsupial. I'm going to pull up. Let's see. Alphabetical order says... I too had my way with tentacles and my Lovecraftian horror of the blood barnacles.
Nice.
My players may be on a ship on the coastal region at the very moment, so hopefully they're not. I hope they're watching, but I hope they're not watching. If you know
Not
what I'm saying.
watching. I tend to. I love monsters that are actually low stat. Like I like the little things that we forget, or we're like, oh, I don't have to worry about that thing. Which is also how the astral supial came into being. The astral supial is just what it sounds like. It's a marsupial, but its pocket is part of the astral plane. So it pulls things from this pouch on its body to defend itself. It's not really a fighter, I guess you could say. But it does protect itself by pulling random things from its pouch. I know it's in here. I gotta.
That's fun.
Yeah, and he's a little. Here he is. He's so cute. I love him. He pulls things like boots and pots and, the little things. And it's funny, and this is going to wrap us into our next question, which I'm going to kind of pass off to Megan, which is sometimes things come through that don't get accepted. And when I pitched this idea, it really was part of the idea of like, how chaotic can you make something? Because I wanted it to look really unassuming. It's considered a relatively pacifist creature, but I love this idea that you could just come across it. And one of the random rolls of things that it randomly pulls from its belly could be another astral supial. So it was this really idea that they don't mate, they don't reproduce, they accidentally pull more astral supials into existence by being, attacked or bothered. And Megan was like, that could turn bad really quickly, because then you end up with 2 astral supials pulling and a third astral supial, if the dice are against you. And so Megan, being the incredible editor, knew that was like a bad idea. But I do love the idea, which is kind of how we changed it, which is that it can pull itself out of existence. Like it can pull itself. Isn't that what we went with? Yeah, it's an astral
Something
power.
like that, yeah. It can basically it allows it to teleport around essentially because it's pulling itself
it
around,
pull itself through its own pouch and then back out. It's like he's adorable. But yeah, it was one of those things where I was like, I don't need like a CR20 monster. I'm down for some blood barnacles and this cute astral supial because I do love that idea that you're just walking through a field and somebody sees an astral supial, and if anybody knows what it is, they're like, don't don't bother it. It's gonna start throwing pots and shoes, and there's no telling what could happen. You know,
Can treasure come out though? Can
Yeah,
treasure come out of the pouch?
I think we did a D6. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know if we did
it pulls
treasure.
random things out. I suppose if the DM wants to put treasure in there, but what it considers treasure, it might be a little different than what the
Yes.
players consider treasure.
So it might be like magical high explosives as much as maybe it throws
Yeah.
some gold at you.
Oh yeah,
There's
Hey,
a real
Rocky!
risk of
okay.
Watch
So
me
we
pull the rest out of my pouch.
Yeah.
yeah, so it can occupy into and then of course my favorite, because I based it off of it plays dead. So it also has a playing dead option, which is like if you get too close or it gets too threatened, it'll just fake its own death and hope you buy it. Which I think is really fun. But it says it'll pull so a couple effects, and again, have fun with it. Like if you're in a setting and there's like something, make it your own. But this is like ball bearings, so that could really screw up the terrain. Cooking utensils, tangled threads, love that. Astral mirror, smelly trash, and magic beans. And we all know what happens when you throw a full bag of magic beans.
Indeed.
So, gets worse. But there he is, our little astrosupial. He's like living his best little pouch life. I love him so much.
He's got my
I
morning
also-
face on.
I also considered, before I sent it to Megan the first time, this happens in writing, you're like writing, I was going to make it a back pouch. So that you couldn't see the pouch, and it just looked like it was like pulling things from behind its back. But then I was like, oh my god, somebody's gonna call it a butt pouch, and that it's over. Like I can't. It's gonna have to be. It's gotta be a front pouch. It can't be a butt pouch. So yeah,
Murphy's
there you
Law,
have it.
always when designing. Murphy's Law.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, okay. So that being said, I told you a little bit about how the astrosupial kind of shifted and changed, and Megan made the incredible editor choice to be like, no, you can't pull more astrosupials from his pouch. But I imagine this happens a lot, right? You work with a lot of designers. You have 3 here who created tons of monsters for this book. So what does it look like to wrangle the many cats of editing a book that's really a mass compendium like this?
Well, fortunately, I'm graced with a lot of amazing designers, so it's not too much wrangling. And what's really cool about the modern day with things like Discord and stuff like that, we have that more immediate communication. So it's not like, back in the day when the editor got a manuscript and then it's like, okay, I'm going to make some edits and then send it back in the mail, wait 2 weeks for the author to get it.
Yeah.
And then I got to wait 2 more weeks to get it back. And then it's a month later and I have no idea what I was even reading. We don't have to deal with that. Modern technology is great. So it's really good to be able to just go back and forth with the designers, like with the Astrosupial. Hey, maybe it doesn't summon more. Maybe we just throw trash at people instead. So there's a lot of back and forth with things like that, especially in the early pitch stages and everything. This project was a lot of extra fun because, like what Chris was saying, he got the picture of that monster before he wrote it. So normally the designers will write it or make the art brief or whatever. But Chris, unfortunately, we were like, hey, the artist, we just told them to do whatever sounded cool. And they did. And then Chris was stuck with it. So
The
It
real
was fun,
hero.
though. It was great. I was like, so what's off the side of the frames? Do you know what's going on back there? They're like, no, you have to make that up. Just make it work, Lockie. Make it work.
If you want wings off frame, it's got wings off frame, whatever you want, So it was an interesting challenge though, right? We don't normally do things in reverse, I guess, like that, but it all worked out really well. But yeah, for a lot of times with developing and stuff with the monsters that come in, a lot of what ends up happening, because it's the Astrosupial is a good example, a lot of them have to be trimmed or made more concise with their abilities purely to fit on one page. Because with our monster books, we generally have 1 page per creature, unless it's like the big legendaries. So for the Astrosupial, that one had to be pared down a little bit, because when you have a chart, you don't realize how much space a table takes on a page.
Yeah.
So you can't deal with standard word counts at that point. You're like, okay, well, a table is a square and it's got all this. Okay.
Yeah, if we do a bullet list, maybe we can make some more room.
Right. So we got to find creative ways to still make the creature fun, but then also fit. And that's the case with a lot of different creatures, regardless of which ones they are. Is just making sure that it still plays the way that the designer wants it to, while still fitting within the parameters that we have.
Look, I found a wild Ted. Hey, Ted.
Hey, how are you? Sorry, better late than never, right?
Hey, better late than never. We were just going around. Megan was talking a little bit about the editing. When Megan's all done, we'll come around because I want you to introduce yourself and share your monsters with everybody. So now, Bashir, you were mentioning that yours also got. You pitched a wild and crazy chaos idea like I did, and you had to be reined in as well. As writers, and you all do this a whole lot more than I do. Do you find that difficult? Do you find the tailoring process difficult, or is it actually like a nice part of the creative process?
So it's a necessary part of the creative process, and it's a positive part of the creative process. There's always that little bit of like, oh, I really wish I could have made that work whenever it happens. But like for the Arcane Leviathan, it took a bunch of stuff that I thought were viable to pull over from like video games and especially MMO raids and like media like that to try and do things that haven't been done before or haven't been done often in D&D products. So the Lightning Lure worked great. That's basically a stack marker, and it works exactly as I'd want it to. It even has like some extra utility from the creativity possible in tabletop games. But originally, the Arcane Leviathan also had a phase change where when you got it to half HP, it would lose its lightning immunity, and it would extend its magical pylons and just start firing off like magical explosions everywhere that are, because it's a siege monster, doing double damage to buildings.
Like
so
Macross.
Now, in addition to, we need to beat this thing. We need to beat this thing before the city is gone, because those are ridiculously huge AoE circles. But it's a lot of mechanics like that are a nightmare for the DM, because you're changing the stat block of the big centerpiece in the middle of a fight. And so it's something that I keep it's something that I consistently try to get some variant of, in terms of, if I simplify it like this, does it work? If I simplify it like this, does it work? If I make it a one-use ability, does it work? But for the Arcane Leviathan, it didn't work. It was still too much to crack. And so it got caught. And I think the monster's probably going to end up better for it, and that it's a lot easier to track. But it's like, that's just kind of one of the things that got cut in the editing process.
Yeah.
Well,
no, and I feel that.
Yeah, and so we have an editing and a playtest process too. So in a lot of things, like something complex like a phase change, that's usually where playtesters come in and they're like, hey, this is cool, but it died too fast for it to phase change. Or, hey, the moment it phase changed, there was a TPK, so what am I supposed to do now? And there's a lot of, and then there are other times where the like a GM will be like, I just completely forgot there was a phase change because there's so much going on with it's doing lightning over here and it's got this other thing over here, and the next person has a lightning tether on it. So when we get feedback like that, we also have to re-examine the creature and be like, okay, what can we do to still have some of these cool effects while also making it not a nightmare to run? Like Bashir said, there were some GMs that were like, this is just, how am I supposed to keep track of all this? I need a spreadsheet just to run this monster. And it's like, well, that's not ideal, right? Like, we want it to be fun for the GMs and the players, right?
And the players,
And it's a matter of trust. I think I got a lot more feedback on my entries for the Vault of Magic, for instance, where Megan had a lot of suggestions that were very adequate and important to have made. And at first it's like, well, but I wanted it to blah, 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 and it's really just sort of, the more we work together, the more we trust each other, and the more you're comfortable handing off the creation to people that can keep doing more with it, because the thing to remember is it's not homebrew. It is going to be played at hopefully hundreds of tables or thousands of tables, and you want it to be able to stand that test of time. So you want a certain amount of level-headedness that our award-winning editor brings to it.
Yeah, I was about to say that Megan brings to all of us. I mean, that's actually a really good point, though, right? Is like, for the book, because, as much as Dot wants an Astrosupio to be able to pull another Astrosupio out of a pocket, that's actually the thing that would be homebrewed, right? Like, if I wanted to get really crazy at my table, I could add that as like another roll option.
And I think I might, I don't know.
You know what I mean? Like, I just love this idea that you could end up with a field of ththese stupid little, marsupials throwing trash at you in pots and pans. Like, that just tickles me to my core. But because it's going to be played by thousands of people at a table that potentially has no homebrew rules, the thing that goes in the book does have to be the tailored down version where Megan says, no, Dot, you can't do that. But that's okay. We can do this instead, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think that's a really astute observation.
I do try and give compromises. Be like, well, the playtest didn't like this. So let's find another way. Let's
think about some options. Yeah. So I really liked that a whole lot. So and even as somebody, this was my first time writing like Beast stat blocks standalone, like not for a campaign or not something that's unique to a module. And so I have to say, bravo, Megan, for being able to be like too much chaos, Dot, in a way that made me go, oh, you're so right, Megan. You're so good at it. So all right, before we get too late into this, I definitely want to introduce Ted. Ted, take a second, introduce yourself, and we I don't know how many monsters you put in the book, but everybody talked about like 1 or 2 of them.
Well, I put in 2, so that works out pretty well.
Perfect. Hey, me too. Join the 2 club.
So anyway, hi, I'm Ted. I run the Nerd Immersion, all of the things, primarily a YouTube channel for all things D&D related, playtest, news, all sorts of stuff like that. So, yeah. And do you want me to just jump into talking about monsters?
Yeah, jump in. Talk to me.
All right.
Look, I have to say, you haven't seen it. I have a
I
preview
saw
copy,
it a
so
second ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll show off your monster in the book though. When you tell us about it. So.
Sure. So one of them, I don't know where this came from, was a samurai crab. So that's me. That's one of my monsters. And as you can kind of see, there's a kingler right here behind me. So big fan. And then I was like, I don't know, how could I make like a cool crab monster? So I was like, I don't know, what if the crab could also have swords? And that sounds like a great idea. So let's start there. And I went back and forth a lot about should it be like a humanoid, like bipedal thing? And then I was like, no, it's just a crab that also has swords. And that was basically the whole
What is it
concept.
Called?
I put it in
It's
as
crab, samurai.
It's crab first. Got it.
Because
okay,
we, oddly enough, had a lot of crab submissions. For this
really?
book.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm in good company then. That's
good company.
Yeah. So basically,
Look at this.
It's like the meme of the crab with the
That
little
was-
knife.
Yep,
Right?
that was that was a little bit of the inspiration behind it for sure. And then I actually gave it like a lot of fighter mechanics, like second wind and things like that, so it can heal itself. And it basically, I just came up with some silly lore about how it is basically a crab that learned how to become a samurai. It's got spots in its carapace to sheath all of its blades and stuff like that. I don't know. It was just a random thing, and I was like, "This is."
But I love this. Like he's got this little story about how it takes swords and stuff from shipwrecks. I love that it like collects swords, and it was like maybe I'll learn how to use them. Make a little dexterous crab.
I thought it would be interesting, something weird and goofy. And I mean, I've seen some really interesting Kobold Press monsters over the years, so. I was like, this feels like it'll fit in just fine.
Yeah,
Does the crab have a code of ethics that or is it in name only?
It does. It has unclear motives, I think, is specifically listed in there.
Yeah, it literally has something called unclear motives.
Yeah, they seem to seek out opponents to test their combat skills. No one really knows why.
I will say this, though. Whether bested or the winner, the samurai crab competing in an honorable duel never kills an opponent unless its own life is threatened. So it does have its own little crab-like code of honor, little, lines that it walks. See, and now I want to run a whole campaign where they think they're looking for a crab and they have no idea that it wields samurai swords till the end. Could you imagine the look on your player's faces when it's like, shoo, I've unsheathed my samurai blades. They will not be back until they spill blood.
Yeah, exactly. Listen, you get it.
good.
Wow, this really explains all those decapitated bandits we found on the road here. We were wondering what was up with that.
I also think it says a whole lot about Ted. I've known Ted for years, y'all. And
Yeah.
so that's so wonderful. I love this. I love this monster. What else? What else about
there
what
is
else?
a dinosaur in there. I put in a dinosaur.
Oh,
So
Dino?
so I'm assuming it's dinosaur under that section. It would be my guess.
Yep.
And
Because there were
It's-
several dinosaurs in this one too.
yeah, it starts with a J. It's J-lop. I don't actually know the official scientific pronunciation of it, but it's you'll see it.
dinosaurs.
Yeah, it starts with a
There's a whole
J.
bunch of them.
J-E-H.
Oh, this guy. Oh man.
Yeah, exactly my point.
Jahopliteris. Drop
Yeah.
Terrace.
Yeah, it
Look
should
at
be
it.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
That one.
That's
So
terrifying.
it's the weird thing is it's one of those things, and as a I was a paleontology major for a while before I started doing all the stuff that I do now. But jury's out on how it works because we don't know. But some of the science behind the bones of the real world creature, people think it might have been a bloodsucker, like a vampire bat, like it would crawl around on like big theropod dinosaurs and drink their blood because of the way the jaw is structured. So it's like, that's really cool. Let's make a vampire dinosaur. So it has blood draining abilities and things like that. And basically what I said is like, okay, so vampire bats, they're spooky. But imagine like a vampire bat that's actually a lizard dinosaur that's like the size of like a cat. And I said, let's do that. And then maybe we put in rules to make it a familiar too. Who knows, right? That sounds like a good idea.
Oh,
too.
that's pretty cool.
So, yeah, I just it basically is like a bat, but also a dinosaur fly by.
Yeah, nothing like a
stuff.
bat dino as you're
Yeah.
familiar to really tell everybody who you are.
Exactly. So
Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, so we went around, we kind of talked to everybody, and we do have the last few minutes. So, chat, I mentioned this earlier, we are open for questions. The first one I have to put out there is, does the crab samurai get a disadvantage with hot butter? That seems like the most relevant question we've had in chat yet. I want everybody to know it.
Put a little melted butter and some lemon at it. It's fine.
It seems like that
right.
would rally the crab to fight harder, in my opinion.
That's true. It might. Yeah, that's true. So please drop your questions. We'll try to get to them here in the last few minutes. But one of the things that I always, especially when I'm sitting down with people that do a lot of writing for tabletop, 'cause there are lots of different types of writing for tabletop books, from narrative to world design to just monster stats. So when you're working on a monster and you're trying to come up with new ideas, obviously things maybe people haven't thought of before or lacking spots in campaigns, where do you draw that inspiration? Where do you start as a writer on this kind of a thing? No particular order,
I
y'all.
think about everything I'm tired of seeing, everything I'm
Yes!
sick of seeing, and then I reach for the dark corners that haven't been explored, dark literally and figuratively.
I like that. That's very cool. Yeah, I sometimes do the same thing. Like I said, like I didn't see there are no marsupial monsters, and I was like, I want a monster with a pouch. Give me a pouch. So I kind of do the same thing. I'm like, oh, I'm so tired of seeing a blank.
now
What
they're
if we saw a
doing this
blank?
book.
Are there two marsupials in this book?
Yeah, one of the guest designers made another marsupial, and it is the Scarsupial.
Ooh,
Nice.
I wonder if maybe the Astralsupial and the Scarsupial should be best supial friends.
They
I don't
should.
know, because the Scarsupial is kind of like a drop bear. So
Oh.
oh boy.
Oh.
Wow.
he
maybe they
might
won't be
scare
friends.
the Astralsupial into
I was
throwing
about to say,
stuff at him,
into
maybe.
his fake dead. Yeah, he'll just fake his
The
dead
great
on the spot.
marsupial feud.
Right.
The whole campaign's
Great
coming together
Marsupial
now.
War 2023.
Following a fantastic pun tradition from the Kobold in last Tome of Beasts, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
We can thank Ted for that one, actually.
Oh, that's you,
we can
Ted?
thank
Yeah, that was me.
it's Ted.
Congrats.
The Swobold
That's
was
the
Ted's.
name heard around the world. That was a good one.
Yeah, that has started on a stream that I think you were actually on back in the day. It was
Yeah,
an
it was
extra
back
life
way back
random
when I
stream.
first started. You were still yeah. That was when what Kobold did their first call for like submissions, outside submissions for the backer submissions, and we were running. Well, what were we playing?
This is a 24-hour extra life, not crazy stream.
Oh, was it the extra life thing where I played the crazy princess? I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right. I ruined everything in that campaign. But it was all for charity, so it's fine.
Sounds like
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all for charity. But yeah, so that's very cool. Anybody else, like, where do you start with that inspiration? How do you begin? Because the white page is always like the hardest part.
So a lot of mine, I mentioned it before the Leashed Legion, I kind of have the inkling of an idea and go, wouldn't that be really fucked up? I wonder what that would look like. So like there's the tumor troll in here, which is entirely just, for a creature that regenerates and can only die in these really specific conditions, cancer must be really horrifying. And kind of just went off from there. There's
It
let's
throws
see.
its tumors at people. It's great.
Yeah.
It's not a tumor.
There's some of the necrotech that's like, I bet you could fit a really big siege gun on like the spine of an undead elephant or a triceratops. Some of that. But I think the more common thing I do is what I like to refer to as ecosystem-based like idea generation, where you go,
Yeah.
here is like a group or a faction or a area that needs more stuff. What are the gaps of what's been designed here, or what's a cool thing that plays into the genre we're going for? So like the reef drake, for example, is kind of, it's a underwater dragon that preys on ships, and I kind of went from there. And has like a concussive breath and stuff that works, like that was kind of inspired by, I think, the super cavitation of mantis shrimp punches, except as a breath weapon. There's the sacred hippo, which is just there's the sacred hippo and the hippo, which the sacred hippo is kind of, the hippo is the most dangerous land animal, like large mammal on the planet, and also is considered sacred by like a decent number of like cultures in the areas where it's native. It would be really funny and messed up if you had a holy hippo with the exact same attitude as a normal hippo. And then after I made the sacred hippo, I was like, I wonder what the normal 5e hippo looks like. And there wasn't one in 5e core. I couldn't find a third-party one. And I was like, wait a minute, there isn't just a hippo. And so I just pitched normal hippo for the next set.
So sometimes you just need to go to the bare minimum. Yeah. What about you, Jeff? Now, you also had the lair, so I'll ask you too, where does inspiration come when you start writing campaigns as well?
You know, I mean, sometimes I go back to my favorite ideas of like locales. I tend to like weird locations. Like I know I think it was Tome of Beasts 2, I did an oasis. Because just that idea of like a little island of green, in the midst of all this desolation, just amazes me. And I do deep dives. I end up to the point where I'm putting off writing because I'm too busy reading about all this stuff. Like I actually read, I started reading about how oases are actually formed, and the fact that there's these underground rivers. And the water is being drawn up to the surface or reaching the surface because of the terrain. And so I started, off with that, and I was like, wow, that's pretty neat. And it's like, so I do things like that. And then I'm like, all right, what sort of creatures, would fill this little piece of terrain? What would be good here? Things like that.
It's almost like ecosystem design at that point. I like that a lot. That's very cool.
Or in the case of Salvage at Lonely Cove, putting creatures that wouldn't normally be in that place,
right?
Because of happenstance, just to throw the player characters off their game. It's like, what is this doing here? This doesn't belong here.
Yeah. Well, how did this get here? Yeah, I love that. Like the spilled menagerie idea. It's such a fun setup. I love that.
Exactly.
Creatures out of place. Very cool. I like that. I like that a lot. No, we had a question from chat. And I think, Megan, you can answer this, and I can show this off, too. In short, basically, are there tables that showcase all of the monsters by certain traits, CR, those kind of things? I know we have it by terrain, so there's, like, a section in the back that's, like, mountain, coastal. Are there quick and other easy ways to find things in the appendix?
So, yeah, we've got CR, type, and terrain. I think the question also is asking... I'm making a big assumption, but like how we approach the book. Like, do we look at that, or are we looking purely at cool factors of creatures when we put them in?
Yeah. You're right. Yeah, that last one is. Are you looking for like a cool factor? Yeah, and I will say it looks like there's a creature by type too. So if you're just looking by right, so you have these nice handy tables. Everybody, I find them extremely helpful. Extremely.
Yep, by type, CR, and terrain in the back. As far as internally, we do actually keep track, or at least for this book, we started keeping an even closer track of what kinds of creatures that we've released, because by the time you get to your fourth monster book, you need to make sure there's not a lot of overlap, right? Yeah. You want to keep things fun and fresh for everybody that would want to have the book. So we did a deep dive into the 3 monster books that previously came out, Tome of Beasts, Creature Codex, and Tome of Beasts 2. And we kind of looked at like what kind of creature types do we have like a lot of, what kind of creature types do we don't have a lot of. And so for the initial, like the first half of putting together Tome of Beasts 3, we're like, all right, you guys just give us your random pitches. What ideas do you have? But for the second half of putting it together, that's what Chris mentioned earlier about he got, parameters, like we need this creature type in this terrain type of this CR type, and that was where we were trying to fill gaps, because the idea was we don't want, like, we know that people enjoy our Fae, but we don't want 2,000 Fae across our 4 monster books, right? So we like to keep a little bit of a balance. So towards the second half of putting together Tome of Beasts 3, we were actually looking at what kinds of gaps can we fill, like what monsters are a little lower on the list, right? And it tends to be things like oozes, right? Like everybody's like, what else can you do with an ooze? Come on.
Everything. I ran a whole campaign. You can do anything you want with an ooze.
Right? You know, and then people are like, it's just an ooze, right? And then you have this awesome staple of wonderful designers, and you're like, I need an ooze that's in this environment and this CR, and they're like, I got you.
Yeah.
And I did definitely.
Right. It's all kinds of crazy stuff. And it's so much fun, right? But
and to be honest, I feel like it was very inspiring in a certain way. Like there's a couple of creatures on my list that I probably would not have come up with on my own without being put into the box. I mean, I would have, but they wouldn't have been the first thing that came to mind. And and in that, I think there's some really, really interesting opportunities, and like it becomes more of this collaboration that feels alive.
Yeah,
you know,
there's no, go ahead, Bashir.
I was just going to say that, during the later waves, going over here are the things that are kind of missing or lower in number. Do you have ideas regarding some of those? Was a lot of fun. I think that's where the Arcane Leviathan came out of. There weren't many aquatic constructs, and so I was like, I have a ICR aquatic construct idea. Let's go for it.
I think by the time I got to Megan was like, we just need some really low CR stuff. And I was like, I got you. Cute, can do. Tiny things, on it. Love it. You know, or like environmental stuff, like you were saying. Like that's kind of how the barnacles came about. It's like I needed to be something for an aquatic setting, but I didn't want it to attack on command. I wanted it to be a silent sleeper. You know, so very, very cool. I don't see any more questions in chat, so I'm going to wrap up with a final question and this, Megan, you know most of the monsters in this book, so you have to answer this one too, which is, if you could pick a monster, whether your design or if you know other designers' monsters, what would you build a campaign around, or what might you build an encounter around? Like what are you jonesing to like put to use? Popcorn it out. There's no like a specific order.
So there's some that purely on the art, I'm like, it's so cute. I want to use it. I want to find a way to use it. Like the Akoro Kamui. I know how to spell these things. I don't know how to say them, but it's Akkoro.
Oh, and yeah, I just saw that.
The art is stinking adorable, and it's based on folklore, because we have a lot of our designers really enjoy working with folklore, so we get a lot of cool folklore creatures. And if I remember correctly, the folklore on it's actually like a good aligned creature, but it looks like a giant scary kraken. I love the artist actually did a good job of making it look cute, but also still terrifying. And,
this is it. Yeah, here it is. Here's the picture. Tentacle. It's such a good piece of art. He's like, don't hate me. I just want hugs.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's based on some folklore of a creature that is in a specific lake. It's almost kind of a Loch Ness monster type situation. Like there's a specific lake that it inhabits, and it's semi-benevolent, semi-not benevolent. It really kind of depends on how you're approaching it. Right. But it has the ability to like give parts of its flesh to heal you and things like that. So it was fun working with the designer on finding mechanics and stuff that could work appropriately for that. But I think that would be a fun one to base a campaign on, because people like outsiders might come in and think that it's this terrifying thing that needs to be slain, whereas the locals are like, no, it actually helps us in times of drought.
Right. It needs to be here. It's part of the ecosystem, right? Yeah. That's cool. I like that. And that's a good one for a campaign too, because it doesn't necessarily end in a giant combat. It could end in like, how do you actually save the creature? How do you negotiate with the town? Or like, really cool RP options too. That's a good one. What about the rest of y'all?
I don't know about a whole campaign, but like I know that one adventure I'm looking forward to running is another lair I wrote called Evil Rises.
Ooh.
Which is based around, I believe Mike Wellham wrote this one, the Doe Drake.
It was called the Bakery Drake in the end.
The Bakery Drake. Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That does have a ring to it. Yeah.
Yeah, and just the idea of have. I mean, I like urban encounters and monsters that are there for an urban settlement. Yeah, there's the bakery, and just the idea of players having to go in without the usual, all right, swords out, fireball at ready, let's go, boom.
Yeah,
They have to navigate through, not only city politics but laws, and then this particular adventure, not everything is as it seems.
Right.
And the target isn't just some monster they need to get rid of, because the Drake has become this beloved, figure.
Right.
Of almost celebrity status amongst the nobility, and so they have to be very, very delicate about how they approach this adventure and how they deal with it. But at the same time, the Drake has been accused of murder, most foul, so something has to be done. But so they have to tiptoe through that little minefield of political and social, pitfalls and problems.
I know you can't see it on the camera, but it's all dusted with like powder, like a sourdough loaf. I'm obsessed.
And a lovely golden brown.
And a lovely golden brown. And I just realized that the title is also a pun. Evil Rises. That's that's clever, y'all. Kobold Press does clever things. That's real clever. That's adorable.
I may have gotten the idea from an episode of the old animated Tick show.
So. I love that show.
That's a great show. Nice. The question in chat is it edible? Can you eat the dragon?
I mean, you can eat any dragon.
In my campaign, every dragon is edible.
I mean, it's an intelligent creature and it bakes such delicious goods. Why would you want to?
Hey, I'm with you. Why would you want to? But they also talked about turning the astral supio into an astral planar bag. So here we are.
The word soup is in there.
That's very true.
What about you, Bashir or Ted? What would you and Chris? What would you want to maybe run or see in action at your table?
I mean, the Arcane Leviathan, also the Maelstrom Devil. I did a lot of aquatic stuff for this one. The Maelstrom Devil, is kind of a relatively independent devil that blackmails captains and threatens them with storms and kind of sets up this network of pirates and the like that are feeding it sacrifices and wealth and favors in return for getting through these areas it has made unnaturally dangerous. So I think it's high enough CR, like CR 13, that it works well as a campaign villain for if you're in the 8 to 11-ish range or climactic boss fight at level 12 or 13 with some buddies. It gives you an excuse to bring a lot of other stuff in. So I think it's doing neat stuff there.
I thought I wanted that book in my hands this morning, but now I really want the book in my
hands.
hands.
Don't you? Yeah. It's coming, everybody. You can get your pre-order now on koboldpress.com.
There you go. Very nice.
I mean, I would definitely start building something around Jeff's interdimensional 2D monstrosity. That's really fun. I also did this thing called the Infernal Tutor. That's what it started off as. We might have renamed him at some point in time, but
still the Infernal Tutor.
It's spoiler alert. It's a devil that sort of takes on the wise wizard on the mountain trope, but it's not he kills and steals the form of the actual wise wizards on the mountain. And I think there's just a lot of fun in there. I really like horror campaigns, and horror cinema and literature kind of influence me the most, and I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Nice. What about you, Ted? I know what your campaigns are like. So
yeah, that's fair. So you know what? I'm gonna pick my own. I'm gonna go with the Samurai Crab because I've just been thinking more about how, I would love if I could get a headband of intellect to fall onto a Samurai Crab, and then it becomes a samurai master.
So
and I in original notes, I don't know if I made it in. I was people maybe think, like in a very Splinter Ninja Turtles way, that it was just a crab who found a sword and watched other people fight, and that's how it picked up how to sword fight. And now
I
I
think
want
that's still in the lore. Yeah.
awesome. I'd love to have one of either the players or somebody seek out this like great sword master, and it turns out that it's just a crab with a sword.
It's just a crab who picked up a sword.
And I
Now,
think
can we
that would
play
be-
the crab?
I
Can we?
mean,
Can,
there's a stat block, so I say why not, right?
Say
I mean,
why not? Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know.
think it'd just be goofy.
That's yeah, the reveal of that. Could you imagine they cross like the entirety of Midgard to find this great sword master, and they get there and it's just a crab.
Just a crab holding, with the sword.
Holding
Yeah,
the
it was definitely inspired by the meme of the crab with the knife for sure. That was part of it.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good.
and it
I'm
feels like
always,
right
you
at
know-
home, in
It
the
really
Kobold
does.
Press thing.
Well, yeah, it's great.
in our
We've got
KS library.
Lovecraftian horrors that like kill people, and no, I'm just gonna put two people together and see what happens. And then you've got samurai crab. It's
Exactly.
great, all in the same book.
We embrace
I
all
really
the weird.
love vegetation monsters. Like plant beasts are some of my favorite things in the horror. Like the corpse flower is like a standard in certain of my campaigns and stuff. There's something in this called the star thrall, which are a bunch of little cacti. They're like these little cacti buddies. I love them already. Like just their art alone, they look like they want to hug, but you probably shouldn't because they shoot spines and stuff.
They're,
But I
they're
like
the
I said,
thralls
yeah.
of the Sin Star. So the Sin Star is
Yeah,
the
the
tiny
Sin Star.
cactus in that picture,
Yep.
and that's the mastermind, and
Oh,
it
here it is. Here, I'll show you.
turns people into cactus.
See,
Oh.
it adds you to its like. But I love this idea. Could you imagine coming across like a field of these star thralls, and you're like, oh, look at all these beautiful cactuses in the Southlands, and then you're like, oh, wait a second, those were people. Like that's terrifying. But I too like my good horror, and there's one creature in here. Like I saw the art and literally went, ew. And that's how I know I want to give it to my players. Like it actually made my skin crawl. It's like there's so much nope about this creature that I'm gonna at some point put it on my players, which is the snatch bat. I just want to talk about this. It has no face, only a hand. And there's an eyeball in the hand. Look how terrifying that is. Could you imagine? They'd be like, oh, look, there's some bats are coming our way. And then they get in view and it's like eyeball hand, like totally like body horror level. Like I love the things my players go, no, I don't want to fight that. Like, no, this is run time. Run, everybody run. So those would be some I'd like to see. And then eventually I'm going to have my astrosupial day where there's a couple of them hanging from a tree. And it's the worst encounter ever because it's just annoying. You're getting pots and trash thrown at you. Like there's no end in sight. It's just annoying.
Who did the snatch bat, by the way?
Yeah, who
do
did
you
that
remember?
one?
Let me. I have
So
my spreadsheet.
good.
I believe it was Sebastian Romford, but let me.
Oh, that sounds like a Sebastian. I mean, y'all, let's be real. There are so many incredible.
Yes, Sebastian.
Like the art alone makes me inspired to play a lot of this stuff, but yeah, there's like what the picture one that I saw earlier,
The
which
dredge
looks
pitcher,
like
yeah.
the dredge pitcher. That one's also a great plant. So there's all kinds of stuff in
It
here.
creates undead. Like it eats people, and then it keeps them inside of its pitcher, and then it turns them into undead, and it spits them out as the zombies that follow it.
That's
Terrifying, terrifying.
That's really
That's
cool.
terrifying.
almost a body
like,
snatchers vibe.
Yeah, very body snatchers. So that being said, everybody, as we round out our Kobold chats, because I'm already over time, I want to thank all of you for joining us. We're going to go around and let you kind of tell everybody where they can find you when you're not over here making weird, incredible, and chaotic beasts for Kobold Press. But remember, right now, you can pre-order Tome of Beasts on our website. That includes Tome of Beasts 3, Tome of Beasts 3 Layers, and I believe the pawn set is on sale, and so are the dice. The Tome of Beasts 3 dice are available for pre-order on the website. But if you're like me and you do a lot of VTT, you can pop over to Roll20 right now. They are running a Roll20 reserve for, I believe, the rest of this month. So that would be the month of November, where if you purchase or pre-order Tome of Beasts 3, you get 20% off Tome of Beasts 2 if you don't already have it. So you can kind of jump right in and have all the beasts at your disposal before the end of the month. Nice little discount for you. So yeah, let's loop around. We're gonna go backwards. So we'll start with Jeff and kind of work our way up to me. Tell us who you are, where people can find you, and you know what? If you're working on another project, now's a great time to talk about it.
I'm Jeff Lee, and let's see, what am I doing right now? Is there anything I can actually talk about? No, probably not. So So yeah, I'm working on things, but I can't tell you about them right now. But my Facebook is set to private, but I do make public posts on things that I'm involved in or that I really enjoy and I want to spread the word on. So you can follow me on there and see all the things, the Kickstarters and the upcoming projects and whatnot that I do. I don't have a huge social media presence, but I do have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff A. Lee, all lowercase. And I do things for a variety of RPG systems there. One of my regulars is Stat This, where my patrons just throw pictures or things from movies or pop culture or what have you and say, please make this into a monster. And I go, okay. And whatever game system they happen to want it for, that's what it ends up. Sometimes several systems, depending. So yeah.
Very nice. Cool. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, I'm Chris Lockey. You can find me on the internet most places at Chris Lockey, except for here on Twitch and over on YouTube. My username is Jabberlocky because we like puns around here. And given the shakeup of the social media space these days, maybe you want to follow the Twitch channel just to see what happens. But yeah, I guess most of the projects I'm engaged in right now are also top secret. But I have been sort of grinding on a fun little self-published thing that hopefully will be showing up after the new year. The first time I'm kind of doing that. So stay tuned if you want to know more. And I'm sure I will be getting my hands dirty in the Kobold Warrens very soon as well. I do, on that note, really, really big shout out to Thomas Reed for, really pushing the project along. I was a busy boy earlier this year when we were finalizing the project, and he's been a joy to work with.
Very cool.
Thomas is our editorial director, for those unaware.
Yes. Maybe one day I'm gonna have to drag Thomas on camera and just make him sit and talk with me for an hour. He'd hate that.
He's like, I should be writing contracts. What are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing right now, Don? I don't need to be here talking. Yeah, Thomas is a lovely human, and really keeps the gears turning over at Kobold Press. So, what about you, Ted?
Well, I'm Ted. I'm Nerd Immersion on all the social medias, but YouTube's probably the best place where you can see so many videos, all the videos, so many videos, multiple times a day. As far as stuff that I'm working on right now, just that slow grind to 100K on YouTube, but I'm involved in a couple of different Kickstarters, doing some stuff with Jetpack 7 on some stuff that they're doing. And then I'm get pulled into more and more Kickstarters to either write a little bit here and there, kind of guest designer stuff, similar to what I did for Kobold, or sometimes kind of mechanics overviews. People pull me in to look at hey, does this stack up okay with what exists in 5e? But yeah, if you want to see what's up to date on news or other related stuff, my YouTube's the best place to find me. So. Nice.
If you dig deep enough on that YouTube, you might see me there.
Yeah, a whole 30-something episodes.
Whole 30-something episodes, yeah, of Princes of the Apocalypse. Nice. What about you, Bashir?
Hey, I'm Bashir Gauss. You can find me on social media either as Bashir Gauss or as Havoc Fett. And my Patreon is under that. Most of the stuff I'm working on is also classified. A couple more projects for Kobold Press. I'm not sure which of those are announced yet. But my current personal project is Guns Blazing. Original system, alternate history, diesel punk in 20s India and the colonized world. You are international volunteers finding monsters literal and political. Public playtest should be coming out by the end of the month. Kickstarter's March next year. If you follow me on Twitter or something, there will be updates about that.
I was about to say, I just had 5 friends pop into my head. I was like, I got to tell them about this. Nice. Yeah. Very cool. And Megan.
I'm just one of the editors at Kobold Press. I'm not the most active on social media, but I usually can be found in the Kobold Discord. That's usually where I'm answering questions that people have. Because we have the Midgard Adventures Discord, which is the fan Discord, and then we have our official Kobold Press Discord. So I kind of pop between both of those and answer questions and stuff that people have. Other than that, I technically have a Twitter at GM Moonwolf. I mostly just lurk and like things. and retweet Kobold stuff. But yeah, that's where you can find me.
Cool. All right, everybody. I'm Little Red Dot. You can find me online where Little Red Dots are found, mostly over here at Kobold Press, since this is what I do. I get the great joy of talking to other kobolds every Wednesday here at Kobold Chats, all about Kobold Press. But I am very excited because for the last 2 years, I have had to say, I have a project I'm working on, but I can't talk anything about it. But as of 2 days ago, I can. So I'm a gonna. I'm so excited. I'm very excited to announce that in the beginning of 2023, we will get a brand new Fallout RPG book via Modifius, and I was lead world designer for that book. So you can check out the new Fallout
Congratulations.
RPG book. Yeah,
Very
it's pretty
cool.
exciting, y'all. I've been sitting on that a long time.
Yeah, Steel be with you.
Yeah, exactly. So if you are a Fallout fan, you'll definitely want to check it out. There's going to be some blogs and stuff coming to tell you a little bit more about it, but the information that has been released is it is a non-mini RPG because they already have like a miniature game. This is a full-on role-playing game, new mechanics. It is going to be set in the Commonwealth right before Fallout 4. So if you're one of the video game fans, this is right before the events of the 4th video game, and it is set in the middle of atomic winter. You're looking at about, I think they said it's going to be probably a 30 to 40 session like campaign if you run the whole thing, and the book is full of new monsters and all kinds of stuff. So I'm a big Fallout nerd, says the 400 hours on my Xbox. So this was the perfect project. They had no idea what they were getting into, and they brought me on. So it's got a lot of body horror, but a lot of really cool things that we're accustomed to seeing in the Fallout world. So I'm very excited that that's coming, everybody. So I'll let you know when it actually drops. But until then, you're just going to have to listen to me talk about it because I've not been able to for so long. And then I want to make sure that you all know that Kobold Press is beginning to sprinkle information about our next Kickstarter. Speaking of us slowly trickling out. So keep an eye on our social media because we're going to be revealing a few things over the next couple weeks as things continue. So thank you everybody again for joining us today. Thank you, chat, for joining us today. And if you haven't already, you can go pre-order your copy of Tome of Beasts 3. And those of you that backed the Kickstarter, we want to say a huge thank you because this incredible book, layers, all of it would not be made possible without your support. And if you were one of the backers that submitted monsters, thank you all to all of you, and congratulations to all of you that got your monster in this beautiful printed book. I look forward to doing some more deep dives when I return from D3 at sea in a week, but until then, we wish you all a great afternoon, and we will see you next week, same Kobold time, same Kobold channel, for more Kobold chats. Have a good afternoon, everybody. Bye.